Hey, what's going on, everyone? We are going to be talking about why people say CrossFit is stupid, the top 5 reasons that I hear, and why they're wrong. All right, so before I begin, first off, there's always bad examples of any product or service out there, right? So for me personally, we've had a lot of personal trainers come in here, and usually I hear complaints from personal trainers. That's fine. I have no problem with hearing complaints. It lets me know how to get better. But if I judge all personal trainers off of the personal trainers I have seen that come in for a free session, an assessment, and do classes here, then I would think that majority of personal trainers can't squat right, don't know how to hit depth, don't work on their weaknesses, can't do pull-ups, can't do push-ups, and don't know how to get their their core neutral, their back flat when they do deadlifts. I understand that your back isn't flat when you do deadlifts, part of your back's an extension, I get that. I'm just using the word flat because most people understand it. All right, so there's bad examples of everything out there. I'm gonna give you what my opinion is, what I focus on here, and hopefully if you have any questions, if you don't believe this is true, or if, hey, you hold this standard at your gym or where you train, wherever that may be, please comment below, let us know. So the first thing is CrossFit promotes bad form. All right, this is probably the number one thing I hear. Now, first off, if you actually understand what CrossFit is, I know most people don't look into it, they've never read the journal articles, what is CrossFit, but one of the number one things they talk about before you get to intensity is, hey, focus on mechanics, then get consistent with those mechanics, and then you can add intensity. And intensity is relative to the person, right? So the very first thing we talk about when we have new people come in the gym is get mechanics, then get intensity, get technique, get consistent, and then you can start playing with intensity, right? So the number one thing that all new people should learn in a CrossFit gym is learn form. That's why you have coaches, that's why you have practice sections, that's why we have skill sections, is go based on your form. All right, so personally, if there's still gyms out there that form is just completely a foreign thought, then there's a major issue there. What I find happens most of the time where there's people with bad form in a CrossFit gym is those people don't necessarily listen to the coaches, so the coaches stop coaching. Now, whose fault is that? That's both of their faults, right? The coaches should never stop coaching. Who cares if that person doesn't listen? Still let them know that's your job. And the truth is, I know it gets boring, but when it becomes boring, it becomes important. The flip side of that is, hey, you're paying for this CrossFit membership and now you're uncoachable, that's on you too, right? So bad form, that really depends person to person. We have people here that all they do is focus on form to the point where they have no intensity. Hey, that's their journey, it's okay. We have some people where every single class, we have to dial them back because they're constantly chasing intensity or what they think is intensity instead of bad form. So do I think CrossFit in general promotes bad form? No, I don't think it does. Now, is there certain gyms that don't teach form and really focus on it? Probably, but overall, CrossFit as a whole promoting bad form, I don't think so. Number 2, there's no structure. And since there's no structure, you have no progressive overload. So for those of you that don't understand what progressive overload is, it's a way that your body adapts and changes, right? Hey, let's say I'm doing a 5x5 deadlift program. Every week I add 5 pounds, next week 5 pounds. I'm forcing my body to adapt and get stronger. So most people think that CrossFit is random. Hopefully that people who are programming at gyms or even on CrossFit.com understand that varied does not mean random. Our conditioning is varied, but for us here at SOAR, we do structured skill work, we do structured strength work, we test, retest to see if we're getting better, okay? And part of that is we have some things that we need to practice, right? Maybe we're working on muscle ups that day. For me, it might be practice. For someone like Abe behind the camera, he's training it. And then for someone like one of our coaches, Krishna, he's testing it in a workout. So I think the idea that there's no structure, hopefully most gyms understand that they need to have structure, but again, I think overall as CrossFit, that is false as well. There is structure, there is progressive overload. Every single day we talk about getting just a little bit better. Try going just a little bit heavier. Try to push just another rep more than you did last week. Just constantly trying to get better. Okay, so I believe there is structure, there is progressive overload. Number 3, it's not functional. So I love this one because most people talk about functional fitness, but they never define it, right? So you can't talk about something, you define it. CrossFit defines functional fitness as moving large loads quickly over large distances. So for us, something like a front squat, right? Load up, squatting, whatever depth you can without pain-free range of motion. Stand up, cool, functional. Sitting here doing wrist curls might not be functional, but might help me with a weakness. So we want to have kind of a training economy where we pick the big things that are functional underneath our definition and then add in those accessory movements later, kind of layer them in so that we can work on our weaknesses. Now, I hear this a lot from people who say, well, we have people with strength imbalances and this imbalance and that imbalance, and their left arm isn't as good as their right, and so on and so on and so on. Well, hopefully they have a program where they're using dumbbells, they're doing one arm or one leg movements instead of everything bilateral. But it's also name one person that actually is balanced. I have never met a person who is balanced. Most people I've met that are just chasing this balance, hey, my right and left arm are perfect, my left and right hip are perfect, never train, they're just constantly rehabbing and prehabbing. So they might think they're functional, but then we go do real life stuff and they can't do it because they're so nervous to get hurt because they never actually train. So do I think that is functional? Yes, for everyday daily people it is functional. I'm not talking sport specific, that's what I hear a lot too. Hey, this isn't functional for athletics. CrossFit's role in athletics is to have a program that is different than what you do every day so you can work on your weaknesses and not have overtraining issues. Specifically in runners and any high school athlete, I find it helps them a lot to get rid of those overuse injuries from just doing the same movements over and over and over again. So number 4, you're gonna get overtrained. All we focus on is intensity. Intensity, 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 intensity. So first off, overtrained, we talk about it again with all our new people where, hey, most people should be training 3 times a week in our gym. At the most, you do 3 days in a row, but coming in and getting beat up does not make you a better CrossFitter or a better trainer or more functional for life. We want you to go outside and enjoy your fitness and use it. So the truth is, most people will come in over and over and over again, just enjoy feeling that pain of working out. And again, this is kind of a two-sided whose fault it is, who's at fault for this. Members want to keep coming in because they feel good when they kind of work hard and put themselves through a stressful workout. And coaches aren't also educating people enough. So for here, we tell people to go home. Hey, you don't feel good? Go home. Hey, my 5 a.m.ers that love to do 5 days in a row, I guarantee you that if you start taking a break on Wednesday or Thursday, you'll get better. We had several people do that. It took me a year and a half to get them to finally start taking breaks during the week. PRs went up, they got better, they felt better, little nagging things stopped happening, all those overuse injuries type stuff, overtraining problems. So we do talk about it. And again, I don't think this is a general CrossFit problem. I think this is our own mentality, especially in the United States, where it's like go hard and go home. No pain, no gain, which is such a load of crap for most scenarios. Okay, if you're in pain, something's wrong. Pain is your body communicating to you. All right, and now intensity. I always hear people say we focus on intensity too much. I laugh because intensity doesn't mean high intensity. Intensity is just the effort you're putting forth, right? So if you just say, hey, you guys focus on intensity too much, well, sometimes we have low intensity days. Sometimes we have moderate intensity. Sometimes we have high intensity. Sometimes our goal is to go anaerobic where we're doing really short, fast movements, long breaks so we can hit that threshold. Sometimes the goal is to be consistent for a whole 20 minutes. It's never necessarily go out, fly and die. And a lot of people think that's what CrossFit is. No matter what it is, let's run as hard as we can. Hey, we're doing a 5K run today. All right, I'm gonna run at my mile pace at the beginning and just try and hold on. No, there's goals for each day when it comes to intensity. So especially in track and field, you might relate to this where the perceived effort might be at 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, wherever it is, but it has to match up with the goal of the day. Sometimes we just lift heavy. If we're lifting heavy, the goal is to go towards that 90% point of effort, not stated by 50%. Let's say we're doing a 45-minute aerobic piece. We can't be working at 90% intensity. So all the people say all we do is focus on intensity. First off, understand what you're talking about when it comes to intensity. Number 2, hopefully gyms are letting people know what the goal of the day is so they have the right intensity in the workouts. We do want intensity, but the intensity better match the goal of the day. And the last one is some movements are not meant to be done at high repetitions. I understand this. I have a little bit more of a classical strength and conditioning background. Now, if I'm using barbell movements just to put on size or just to gain raw strength, we're going to do them lower rep range. If I'm trying to build hip hinge endurance, maybe I'll do a higher rep range. But again, my intensity and my load has to match it. Now, I don't necessarily agree with, hey, let me go high loads, high repetitions. And high loads, again, is relative to the person, right? So maybe a 225 clean for me might be a one rep max, but for someone else, it might be 60%. So just because the load looks heavy and the reps are high, heavy is relative to the person, all right? And again, in real life, because that's what CrossFit is supposed to be about, training for real life, maybe I have to move 120-pound sandbags over the next 3 hours as fast as I can so my house doesn't flood. Where I live in New Jersey, this happened 3 years in a row where homes flooded, gyms flooded, because we literally had to cancel Halloween because power lines were down, crazy storms, hurricanes, everything like that. No one cared that I'm not supposed to lift this heavyish load for a long period of time and lots of repetitions. Life demanded it. So do we go high repetitions all the time? No. Do we go low repetitions all the time? No. We want you to get generally good at both of those. All right, so the way we talk about this, we want to be non-specific with what our abilities are. If my lower back can't take volume, and I have to respect that progression to take in volume, in real life, when I have to hunch over, do yard work, play with my kids, my lower back doesn't take it. We had NFL pro football players come in, and we did a kettlebell swing workout, and their backs were sore for a week. These guys deadlift over 600 pounds. but they didn't have the volume, they didn't have the ability to survive the endurance aspect of it. And life usually calls for a little bit more of that endurance when it comes to movement, especially on the lower back, staying bent over, lifting up stuff, whatever happens to be. So again, do I think that all movements, all gyms are bad in programming movements just high speed? No. Do I think CrossFit is a bad thing in general? No. Do I think stupid people do stupid things? 100% of the time, it's always going to be that way. One of our coaches here at the gym, his sister just had someone spray paint her bumper while she was at the train station. She wasn't there. For what reason? Who knows why? Why do people post stupid videos, do stupid things? Because people are stupid sometimes. But do I think CrossFit is stupid overall? Heck no, it's changing lives every day. So if CrossFit's changed your life, or if you have any questions, or you think CrossFit is bad, please comment below. Let's talk about it.